Hello, all of you gamers, professional and casual out there in the world. I am MegaAmpster. Thank you for clicking on this video. If you're new here, great to have you here. If you're a returning viewer, hey, great to always have you here. Thank you for the continued support. It really means a lot to me. Just wanted to make a quick little retrospective video on this. Kind of a retrospective and also a look into the future for Nintendo. I guess the main thing is the future, because I don't cover a lot of rumors / leaks on this channel, and mostly because I tell people not to buy into them. Some of them can be believable, sometimes they're true, but they end up plans changing, who knows, a lot of them just end up being fake. But there's been so much talk about this, and I'm like, you know what, I might as well just make a video on this, just the one video until we get an announcement of it. Yes, I am talking about the next Nintendo Switch, or whatever next hardware that Nintendo has planned. But before we get there, I just want to do a quick little retrospective. I did one for the 5-year anniversary last year, which was kind of a bigger milestone, but I wanted to talk about the Switch a little bit, because as of this recording, we just happened to pass the birthday, the 6th year anniversary of the Switch releasing, and Breath of the Wild, of course. And, you know, I know people have talked about, you know, the novelty of the hardware kind of dying down, and for sure, it's tough because it's, you know, it's when new hardware releases, I get like this, I'm sure a lot of other people do as well, but it's so exciting to get new hardware to just play around with, and you know, this was such a cool concept at the time because Nintendo consolidated their console and handheld markets into one thing, and it's honestly really cool. And personally, this is a more personal take, I grew up playing a lot of the Nintendo handhelds rather than the consoles. I didn't jump into the consoles until the Wii, and that was when the Wii U was already out for 1 or 2 years. So I was very late to the Nintendo console train, but handhelds I've been playing since the Game Boy. Game Boy Color, actually, technically. But I was excited when they announced they were kind of coming to one, so I could play higher fidelity games on the go, and I still do to this day, not as much as I did. It depends on the game. You know, it depends on the game. Breath of the Wild, I actually played predominantly handheld. I did half and half with Xenoblade Chronicles because it works for my work commute. Metroid Dread, I did both actually. I did one playthrough docked streaming and then another one handheld, which is really cool. It really depends on the game for me. You know, it's so nice having the option. That's the cool part. The options are great, and so, you know, that's why I still personally, I don't think this technology is the inner workings. Yes, obviously we're gonna get to that. The inner workings are outdated in terms of the actual components being used. They are very outdated. But the concept itself is far from outdated. I mean, look at what Valve just did with the Steam Deck, right? Essentially taking your PC games and playing them on the go. Hell yeah, that's great. And they had a dock to go with it. So clearly, the Switch has had an influence on the hardware market as well as the software market. And, you know, I really hope, and this is kind of going into more the future outlook, I hope Nintendo doesn't drop this concept of the hybrid model. I personally don't think they will. I would be 1000% shocked if they separated them out again, or just went console, or just went handheld. I don't think they'll do that. I think they hit a gold mine with this concept. In a lot of ways, the Switch to me is what the Wii U wasn't. Not only in terms of software, but the hardware. Just this is literally the gamepad, but way more advanced. And the off-TV play with the Wii U, you could go 2 feet from your Wii U, and then it would lose connectivity. This is literally everything the Wii U is meant to be, but way beyond. So it's honestly awesome. Even if the tech inside is outdated, the the Tegra chip this one uses, even if that's outdated, it's still the concept. I think the concept is honestly everlasting. There's really, to have all of these options, you know, it's just, it opens up more ways to play. And honestly, that's so good. Nintendo, hire me for your advertisements. But just looking back at some of the games, Splatoon 3 was a big one that we got in the last year. Splatoon 3. I guess if we're counting March now until last March of 2022, Fire Emblem Engage, I know, was a big deal. We got all the Persona games on Switch finally. Well, 3, 4, and 5, I should say. Bayonetta 3, I love Bayonetta 3. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 was a big deal. We got a lot of threes. Kirby and the Forgotten Land was Kirby's transition to 3D, and it was a great one. We got a lot of good games. Am I missing anything? I feel like I'm missing one game. One major game. If I am, I can't think. I mean, there was a bunch of stuff. There was more than that. You know, there was a lot of good stuff that came out in the last year. I mean, Switch Sports was a big deal. There was a lot of good stuff that came out. And so, you know, I think it's interesting because we're now into the 7th year, technically. We're starting the 7th year of this Switch. So now the question is, what is the future going to look like? So just to kind of go into that more, because that's the focus of this video, is really the future. Just wanted to do that quick little retrospective to kind of summarize. The Switch had a really strong 2022 into the start of this year. And clearly that's going to continue. There's a lot of great games for everybody to try out. And so going into the future here, I believe this is from last year. There was like a share, actually no, sorry, 2021, not last year, like a shareholders or stakeholders meeting. I grabbed this picture specifically from Nintendo Everything. This is a infographic that Nintendo themselves put together, right? So we can see here the future outlook. This has been around for a couple years. Integrated hardware and software. You have like the DS and the Wii and like older stuff, right? 2017, we get the Switch. Great, awesome. Then up and beyond, integrated hardware, software, next gaming system. So obviously all these are integrated hardware, software. So they're obviously going to have a next system. Now, what's interesting is that, so expanding Nintendo IP, of course, Nintendo account, right, starts with the Switch and keeps going. And then we also see these value-added services constantly increasing. And I mean, we have seen this, right, with Nintendo Switch Online. As much as it's been very minimal and very drip-fed, we've seen, especially with the retro games, you know, with the addition of N64 games, the addition of Game Boy Advance to the NSO, we've seen value slowly being added. But what you don't see here, and I mean, they wouldn't advertise this, of course, but like what you don't see here is them just like stopping before the next hardware system. So what this implies, and hey, feel free to correct me in the comments if you think I'm wrong or a lot of other YouTubers are wrong, this Nintendo account service is going to continue into the next platform, right? So what's going to happen is one issue we always had with the Virtual Console back on Wii U, 3DS, was you still had to buy the game again. Especially the Wii to the Wii U made no freaking sense. You know, you still had to buy the game separately, again, the same game, if you wanted to play it on the newer console. This, say what you will about the NSO, it is far from perfect. According to this infograph, and I think we can assume this, those games on the NSO will carry right into the next system. And this kind of goes into what I think the next system will be. It's gonna be another Switch. I don't see how they couldn't do another Switch. Like I said, they struck a gold mine. This is such a good concept. There's no reason for Nintendo. The only reason I could see for Nintendo to go back to consoles and handhelds is if third parties are complaining that there's not enough horsepower on the Switch. Which, like, I mean, if there's not enough horsepower, buy an Xbox or PlayStation 5. The Switch occupies an interesting thing because, like, I mean, for a while I only had a Switch and I guess a PC. But, like, from people I've talked to, it really seems like the Switch is like a complementary system. Nintendo has their exclusives. A lot of people have a Switch and something else, even if it's just a Switch and a PC. Some people have a Switch and a PS5. Some people have a Switch and an Xbox, like I do. It's like a complementary system because it doesn't really replace the other ones. It's not directly competing necessarily. In a way it is because they're all in the video game market. They're all platform holders, right? But it's kind of its own thing. So I don't see Nintendo going back to just consoles, specifically so they can get horsepower for third parties. It's up to third parties what they want to do. If they want to make a native port, if they want to make a different version of a game to put on Switch, or if they want to do a cloud game, you know what I mean? It really it's up to the whoever's developing the game at that point, if they want to make a game for the Switch or not. And I mean, the Switch is really successful, so like a lot of companies will do it, even if it's cloud. I'm looking at you, Square Enix, and Capcom does it a lot too. But like, I don't see how they could go back. They've consolidated both the console and handhelds into one market for the last 6 years. I don't see how they can separate that out again. You know, I mean, I don't want to say that they're in this for life, you know what I mean, with the Switch, but at least for the foreseeable future, you know. And I think especially the next platform, I think personally, I don't want to say it's guaranteed, but I almost feel like it is. It's just going to be an upgraded Switch. You know, we're going to get better hardware. There was like with the Tegra 1, there's another chip, I think, a newer I like to say, but it's still going to be outdated by today's standards. It's not going to come close to anything like the Series X or the PS5. But, you know, get an upgraded chip, maybe get better RAM, 4K, DLSS maybe in the dock or something? I don't know. You know, I think there is a lot they could do. And I know there were all the rumors about the Nintendo Switch Pro and everything like that coming out. Some people said that got converted to the OLED. Some said it didn't. I don't know what to believe. But, like, I think the next new Nintendo hardware First of all, we will hear about in the next couple of years, and I think it's going to be just a more upgraded Switch. Like, why not? You know, why would they go back? I honestly, let me know in the comments below if you have a good reason to why they would go back. You know, I personally don't see the reason why they would separate that out again. It would just be another Switch. Like, look at the Apple model, right? The Apple model clearly works well. A ton of people buy every single model that comes out like every year. Nintendo's not going to go that crazy, but like every 5-6 years they'll just have a new Switch that comes out that's more powerful. Maybe a new gimmick here and there. I don't know. Like we had the infrared laser on the bottom of the right Joy-Con here. Maybe something with that. I don't know. Where it's like they do some new weird gimmick with that. You know, there's some stuff they could do. Hopefully, please, hopefully better Joy-Con Nintendo that with thumbsticks that don't drift, preferably. But it seems like it might be unavoidable now. So there's a lot they could really do to improve the current model of the Switch, and they did that with the OLED model too. You know, they have the OLED screen, they have the like less the bezel, so the screen is bigger here. I was very tempted to buy an OLED, and I just never did, especially because they launched it with Dread. Almost I came so close. That's why Joy-Con looks sleek as hell, but I did not buy one. I'm holding out for the new, and I think we'll hear about it soon. So I won't even open these up. I have these up here. I'm not even gonna open them up. But in case you didn't hear, there's always rumors and leaks and stuff like that. There have been plenty that came up in the last week. You know, there was a 4chan post that apparently a leaker from like months ago who completely got the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet DLC correct, like name and everything. And that was just revealed almost a week ago as of this recording in the Pokemon Presents. We got the new DLC coming out. And supposedly they said that the new Switch will launch with the second batch of Pokemon Scarlet Violet DLC, which originally they said holiday 2023, and then they said early 2024. I think most likely this would be 2024, but I'm kind of inclined to, I mean, the fact that they got the Pokemon DLC pretty much accurate. They could have just made the other part up, so who really knows, but like, I feel like the timing's right. They could literally replicate the original Switch release in March of 2017 with Breath of the Wild. They could do the exact same thing in 2024, March, April, I don't know, sometime around then. You know, less competition with other platform holders, right? To not launch around them. It works well for them, I think. I'm not a marketing guy, so I wouldn't know, but it's just kind of my thoughts on it. That's kind of what I think could be likely. Now, there's no Tears of the Kingdom, though, because that's coming out in, what, 3 months as of this recording? No, 2 months. Fuck, it's coming up. So what would they launch it with? Here's an idea. Metroid Prime 4. Boom. Cross-gen. Maybe not cross-gen. I don't know. They could do something with... I love when Nintendo... I love how Nintendo did that with Dread and the OLED. Now, I would love to see them do it with Prime 4 and the new Switch. That'd be wild. I don't know if it will happen, but like it could. They probably wouldn't make it cross-gen, but that's kind of another situation, right? Let me know your thoughts on this below. Sorry, this video is just kind of a hodgepodge of a lot of different ideas, right? Because I haven't made a lot of videos on this topic because I've just been mainly avoiding it, and now I'm just like, you know what? Do it all in one. There's a lot of news coming out now. Will the next Switch be backwards compatible? I think yes. And I know there's been debates about whether it could be or not based on the hardware or what they could do. If it's not backwards compatible, I'm not going to lie, I'm going to be really upset. I'm going to be very upset. Especially because in my personal situation, it's like, I told one of my friends, I'm like, because he's like a big Metroid fan, and Pikmin as well, and we got Pikmin 4 coming up. And it's like, he hasn't wanted to just sit down and just pay the full, what, $300, $350 for the OLED, I guess, for the Switch right now. And it's like, okay, well, if I get a new Switch that's upgraded and it's backwards compatible, I'll sell you my old Switch, the original Switch, at a discount. And he's like, great. So I'm going to be very upset if it's not backwards compatible, because I'm going to have more of an incentive to just keep this Switch. And I'm like, it's tough, especially when they have stuff like this here in this infograph, where they have this value supposedly with the NSO, cloud saves, all that, be carried over to the next platform. It would just make so much more sense for it to be backwards compatible. And I think with the Wii U to the Switch, it was tough because obviously going from discs back to cartridges, it's really hard to make that backwards compatible. Same thing with the N64 to the GameCube. But the Wii could play GameCube games, at least the original models, and the Wii U could play Wii games. So, especially if this is going to be, if it's something completely different, if they just go back, Wii U 2, I don't know, then like, yeah, like obviously that would be really tough if they went for some reason back from cartridges to discs, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to do another even more powerful version of the Switch. They better not call it the new Nintendo Switch, I swear. It's okay, I'll buy it still. The Switch 2, I don't know what else they would call it, but There's hopefully Nintendo comes up with a decent name for it, but like the code name would probably just be like NX2 or something. But like, especially if that's what's gonna happen, which I think it's likely, if it's not backwards compatible, I'm gonna be a little disappointed. I think a lot of people will be too. You know, it's gonna be tricky to see what they do. I mean, look at the handheld lines for Nintendo. I think all of them, I mean, obviously not the Game Boy, but I think all of them were in some way backwards compatible with the previous generation. You could play Game Boy games in the Color. You could play Game Boy and Game Boy Color games in the Game Boy Advance. You could play Game Boy Advance games on the DS. I think maybe just let me know if you could do the original DS. I know I only had a DS Lite, so I wasn't sure. You could play DS games on the 3DS and so on. So, you know, if only they made 3DS games playable on Switch, that would have been peak, but that's a lot of work to do, I guess. But it's like, I think it's going to be backwards compatible. I think it's going to be a more powerful Switch. I think it's going to be backwards compatible. That's kind of just like the overall gist of it. There's a lot they could do. You know, there really is. It's Nintendo. They like to throw curveballs all the time. You know, they've almost never had a very established pattern, but I think we're in an interesting era of Nintendo because after Iwata passed and after Kimishima stepped down as the interim president, we now have Furukawa, I believe his name is. He seems like he's a very safe president. He's kind of just like, let's do what makes sense financially and what people are going to be interested in. You know, Iwata was a lot about innovation, and we have him to thank for so much stuff with Nintendo, and definitely the Switch. He definitely had a say in that. And I think now that that's established, I could see, you know, putting myself in, you know, Furukawa-san's shoes, maybe just being like, let's just do a more powerful Switch. Apple's clearly having success. We're going to do something similar for now, is the caveat. With the Switch, more power, maybe 4K upscaling. Please, Nintendo, that'd be awesome. That's me being selfish. More internal RAM, better speeds. I don't know, custom themes would be nice at some point. Just better processing power, so also the eShop doesn't run like 2 frames per second, you know? And just make it better. And people will buy it. People will be crazy for that. And make it backwards compatible, carry over the Nintendo account, NSO, cloud saves, all of that, carry all that over, platinum, gold points, all of that, to have one unified platform. That is personally my ideal scenario for what the new platform for Nintendo could be. But that's just my opinion. I feel like it's fairly likely, but it's also because it's my opinion, so I'm going to say that, of course. The least likely thing, unfortunately, is probably 4K DLSS. I feel like that's one that we'll have to wait and see. That might be too much to do, like to upscale with the dock somehow. I know there were leaks about that back when the Switch Pro rumors were still called the Switch Pro rumors. But we'll see about that. It'd be nice. It'd be a nice thing to have, but if it doesn't have it, I'm not gonna explode. You know, just give me that OLED screen. I'll be honestly happy, and more, you know, faster processing speeds, and we're good. But that's just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below. What do you think the next Nintendo platform could be? Is it going to be another Switch? Are we going to go back to the Wii U 2? Maybe we're finally going to get the N128. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you think I'm wrong, feel free to. I will try not to take it personally. And other thoughts on like backwards compatibility, upscaling to 4K, let me know all your thoughts on that. I'm going to try not to make a lot of these videos going forward because there's just so many rumors constantly coming out. You know, Jeff Grubb has been talking about it. There was that 4chan leak. There was that Chinese hardware leaker who said it was coming up at some point. I think it's going to come out next year. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Otherwise, hey, I will catch you all on the next video live stream. Until then, take care. Stay gaming, Nintendo fans. We're in it.